think it's working. Oh, we're out here. It's working. What is up, guys? Definitely bear with me here. Hope the music isn't too loud. Hold on. Let's see if I can get my chat to connect. Hey, okay. We've officially started the first ever official Tetron live stream. Thank you for being here. Sorry for the delay. We're definitely going to see how this goes. um, yeah, so definitely today I'll be going through this. Gonna try and wait for some more people to join. Honestly, I don't even know if that many people will join. Maybe some people will watch this back. Just a lot of learning here. Does the audio sound good?
Sounds great.
Got my producer over here.
Very behind.
Okay, no, that's good.
That sound is not.
Yeah, definitely a brand new experience, that's for sure. Appreciate all of you that follow me on Twitter as well. Try to load everything up here. I can't believe this dude, Sam Bankman-Fried, is actually arrested. Like, I actually didn't think they would do anything, but I feel like he's just gonna like let go, or like I don't know. It's just gonna be some cheese. It always is with him. It's crazy though, the whole FTX thing. Yes, Danzo, I did notice that. I saw like right as I was starting that he's actually streaming right now too. Lightning's an awesome dude, so I kind of apologize for streaming at the same time as him. But I'd already like planned it, and I just figured like why not do it at this point. But definitely gonna do this again. This won't be the last day, that's for sure. But definitely got to start minimizing all this stuff. And next one, I'm gonna have to figure out how to put the stream over here, so I can actually see this on the side and you guys don't see it. Then what's my take on GME? I'm bullish, that's for sure. But yeah, definitely the marketable securities was interesting to see on GameStop's earnings report. U.S. security, government securities, it's a way to park their cash, at least do something with it, because obviously they don't want to be using it for just whatever in the moment. But if you want to park it and earn some interest in the meantime, but ooh, didn't mean to highlight this. But this is the report I'm going to go through a little bit today. Definitely totally different experience to be live streaming. I'm trying to watch both. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you, Danzo. Thank you. I definitely got to figure out how to be pulling up the chat on the side without going back there. But basically, this little report, I'll just go right into it. It's not really going to be a crazy stream. Just hope some people watch it back. And like I said, whoever's here, thanks for being here. So the intro, DRS update, and earnings call opening on this first page here. I have about 8 pages. Most of it really is the information from the report itself, and I'm kind of just elaborating on it a little bit. It's not really supposed to be anything that sophisticated or like super brainiac, like nothing like that. Pretty much just, I'm a regular guy. I read the earnings report just like many other individuals, and I'm just kind of saying what I think about it. So starting off, obviously, just talking about what it is here, you can read the things on the screen. And going into the DRS count, we have 71.8 million versus the previous quarter of 71.3 million that were directly registered with the company's transfer agent Computershare. So obviously, lots of questions about this. I personally think that it was the result, or intention rather, of a shorting hedge fund or some entity that had interest in directly registering shares over time, and then over time they eventually chose to deregister those. And I think that's why that very small increase was there. I find it really hard to believe that individuals only directly registered 500,000 shares in the whole quarter. It just seems crazy. Doesn't really make sense based on what we're seeing. But I mean, I'll kind of leave it at that. It's definitely interesting to see what people have to say about it, and it will be interesting to see what we see over time. But thinking back to what happened with Ortex, that glitch, that's interesting timing. I'm pretty sure that was like right at the end of the quarter. All that funky stuff started happening. And I'm going to apologize for keep pulling up OBS, but I just want to check the chat every once in a while. And definitely, if you guys have any suggestions, feedback, you can give it to me. I know this is not going to be the best stream, not the best quality, but it's day one. And a lot of credit to Marantz and Lightning and these other guys that are streaming regularly. It's definitely not that simple. Like making a video is a totally different kind of like aspect or vibe. So I'm definitely enjoying this right now, but definitely feels very different. So earnings call started off talking about, obviously you got Matt Furlong on there, and he first pretty much thanks all the employees for the holiday season, and then he goes on to thank the shareholders. Just thank you for being here. Thank you for being consistent buyers of the company. I think it's pretty much just a thumbs up over to Superstonk and just people like myself who are talking about GameStop and just GameStop shareholders across the board. And in 2021, 2022 here, I highlighted a bunch of stuff that GameStop has done. These are just some of the main points, but definitely GameStop has repaired its decayed company foundation. That was what they said in the earnings report. This is what Matt Furlong said. So by that, I think they really added a lot of technology to help the underlying business, because I actually worked in retail, so I understand that if you have strong business technology and just how you actually operate day to day really can make a difference in your bottom line. So I worked at a Marshalls as a assistant manager to the whole store, and I was like department manager. So I really just focused on this particular sales, but we had like little to no retail technology. But other companies that actually have retail technology and utilize it, they're able to, cut costs in certain areas. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should be getting less of this item in this region and more of it in that region because of just what sells where, depending if it's a seasonal item, the weather there, right? There's tons of different factors. But my point is, GameStop never really had this underlying stuff, and Ryan Cohen and friends came in and brought about technology and just smarter business decision making, right? So it's not overnight, but over time, they're figuring out how to operate more efficiently. And that starts with a strong foundation with things such as retail technology. That's just one example. Just overall, like closing some of the stores that were unprofitable, just simpler, smarter business decisions. And that also has a lot to do with the culture of business intensity. So for a long time, GameStop's just whatever, it is what it is. But now you have leadership that's actually from the top down saying, okay, we are trying to do this, we are trying to do that. These are some of our goals. We want to achieve this by the end of 2022. This is what's for 2023. That's operational intensity. That's that culture you have right there. So you have to build it over time. No, it's not overnight, but it's the idea that there's actual like urgency, actual sense there. But go ahead and check the chat. Hey, what's up, Annie? What's up, Swagman? Danzo, it sucks on the DRS pullback, but hey, everyone's learning to book their shares, so hope that helps for quarter four. We can't be shook. I'm glad you said that, because book shares, I personally am really starting to think that book shares over plan shares might make a difference. So I don't have any like evidence of this yet, and definitely do your own research on this always. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor. Always do due diligence out there. It's important for yourself. But what I'm trying to say here is, it's interesting that Ryan Cohen, right, comes out as the book king, or he puts the book king. He writes these children books. So it's interesting when there's book shares versus plan shares. And a lot of individuals now have repeat buys, right? Maybe not everyone. When I buy my shares, I'm buying through Fidelity, and then I'm just messaging them, hey, I want to DRS my shares once they settle. So that's how I'm doing it, but some people might be buying regularly, some are buying direct on computer share. So could that make a difference? Could they have changed some rule in the counting or some kind of cheese? I don't know. But I just ultimately think if it's book versus plan, like for yourself, like they're still in your name, but if just in case book matters, you might as well just book them. That's kind of my thought process on that. But one thing I want to say about the plan, if you transfer all your shares out of plan into book, you can't transfer fractional shares, so do keep that in mind. And Richard Newton brought this up in one of his videos, that if you don't keep like 1 point something shares, if you just keep point something, there could be like a residual sweep where like all partial shares could be liquidated. So if you don't want your partial shares to be automatically liquidated potentially, as far as I'm aware, it seems that you need 1 point something shares, because you'd still have at least one share in the plan, and that would keep that fractional share there and prevent it from just being swept. But go go ahead. I'll check the chat again. Definitely got to figure out how to get this on the side. Definitely got to get that second monitor action going. Really got to like get a nice little setup too. I don't know if you guys always see, like I'm literally always in a different spot, kind of always on the move, always like shifting locations. But eventually, I'm gonna have a nice setup. So I'm going to get back into what GameStop's done through 2021 and 2022. So they've established their long-term goals and priorities. So now, like I was kind of saying, management's in there, like, all right, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. And they've modernized that crumbling infrastructure, which is just what I was talking about, and unprofitable stores and just poor decision making, because management evidently before was making good money without actual skin in the game or any share ownership, so they didn't really care what things were looking like or how the business was performing, hence why it was shorted a lot. I mean, of course, that's a whole other conversation to get into, but back to the report here. They built a strong team, so they've been doing a lot of laying off now, but I think they've really found who they need to move forwards on the higher levels and some of the more middle levels or lower levels in the stores. But of course, you don't like to see people getting laid off, but it's a reality right now. Lots of different companies are doing it. I found it pretty funny that when Meta laid employees off, it was bullish. Stock's up like 9%. GameStop lays people off, bearish. Stock is down 9%. So it just reminds me of like Wolf of Wall Street. It's Fugazi, it's Fugazi, it's a Wazi, it's a Woozy. Like that's really what the stock market is at the end of the day. When you see stuff like that, like the same near identical news, right? Of course, two different companies and it does mean two different things. But generally speaking, it's going to help with GameStop's cost cutting. Whereas Meta, they've spent tons of money, like literally billions of dollars on the metaverse and all that stuff. And they spin it where the media says like, oh, GameStop, they're over leveraged in cryptocurrency and this, or like, they just say all kinds of bogus like about GameStop and crypto and being involved in it. But the reality is, and I talk about this a little later in the report, is that GameStop actually doesn't even own any coins directly. So they're saying, hey, we believe in the technology and everything that's going to happen, but we're not trying to hold the assets. Doesn't mean we don't believe in the assets, but we're not going to hold the assets on the balance sheet and create volatility for shareholder capital. But that's a little later. I'll continue on here. So yeah, strong balance sheet. They don't want to risk that. Being a little, I was talking about the marketable securities. We'll get more into that later. So yeah, kind of again what I was talking about, gaining understanding of just overall operational efficiency. Then they created the GameStop wallet, as well as the browser extension on that. And you get the iOS application with the NFT marketplace. Lots of different things going on there. So some strengths of GameStop, strong cash position. I like to say now they have negative 1 billion debt, because of those like articles that were like, oh, GameStop's debt position is currently negative 900 million. Well, now it's negative 100 million, or I'm sorry, 1,000 million or 1 billion, right? So strong cash position of over $1 billion. They're very little debt, which is in the very low millions of dollars, and it's just really a small loan with the French government associated with COVID. So basically, they just got a loan from the French government, and it's like an interest rate of 1 or 2% or something like ridiculously low. So it's like essentially nothing. And over time, GameStop now knows how to manage their inventory. They've talked about keeping a healthy inventory mix on board, just because of, I guess, this environment we're in right now where things are difficult to get. It's holiday season. They're getting rid of the inventory that hasn't been moving. That's what they mentioned on the earnings call as well. And something next on the earnings call that I thought was interesting, they call it like a shrinking cost structure. So basically, SG&A costs are declining, and based on the commentary of the call, it seems like they'll continue to decline because these are fixed costs. What Morantz very well points out in his streams are that GameStop, or he pointed out once, and it really made me like understand. I was like, oh yeah, this makes so much sense. And this was like when I first found it a while back. Basically, GameStop is profitable variably, right? But there's a lot of those fixed overhead costs, and that fell a lot into SG&A. And SG&A is, selling general administrative costs. So these are your overhead costs. So when you're transitioning, these costs might rise a little. But even then, it seemed like GameStop was kind of managing them well. But now that they're trying to decline those costs because they've done the bulk of their turnaround, the figuring out portion of things, now it's about executing. Now it's about profitability. And in Ryan Cohen's interview, something interesting he said was, oh, hey, when I bought GameStop, interest rates were zero. For a long time, interest rates were zero. Short-term cash flows versus long-term cash flows. It didn't matter. But now, short-term cash flows mean more than long-term cash flows because you have a rising interest rate environment. So he's like, okay, now the company's focusing on profitability. And now we've heard Matt Furlong and Ryan Cohen echo profitability as being a priority for GameStop. So GameStop is prioritizing profitability, and we just saw free cash flow be positive this quarter. So we don't see the company losing money. It doesn't look like they're going to need to take out debt, and they're just going to keep moving forwards. But beyond that, further evidence is they literally say it in the earnings report. I'm sure you've read that here. So, like I said before, they don't hold any tokens of crypto because they don't want the exposure. We have not and will not risk meaningful shareholder capital in the space. This is what Matt Furlong said. So, cost-cutting efforts, a lot of it, they said, is coming from the cutting of corporate headcount. So some people left on their own to pursue new opportunities. Some blockchain engineers, right? They like to come onto a project, help build it, create it, but they're not really there to maintain it, or they don't want to stay with that. They want to go create the next thing because that's what they do. They're a creator. Everyone's got their style. So some were let go due to the wallet and marketplace being completed. Of course, you need people to run the operations, but need less of a headcount. So streamlining parts of the operations that are now up and running efficiently. Things like the marketplace, things like fulfillment centers, right? Those were generally new, so I'm sure they know how to operate those better and just kind of overview everything. Just work smarter, not always harder, right? Moving down here, we have the SG&A cost visualized. Damn, I really need the chat on the side. Great live stream setup. I like to be able to read what you have as well. Shout out to you, JPP Investments. Appreciate you, man. Longtime friend, Joey. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here. And I promise, guys, these will get better. I feel like definitely a lot harder to stream than record videos, to be straight up. But happy to be here. Happy to go through this with you guys. So SG&A costs for the quarter were 387.9 million. While that was the near equivalent of percentage of gross sale volume, again, that's that fixed cost I'm talking about, overhead. When we're looking at profitability, if they become a lower percentage of the sale, then the company would be more profitable. Of course, if their variable costs aren't going up. But looking for the same quarter last year, they were able to decline those costs. But the unfortunate thing is that the top line revenue also declined. So because top line revenue declined and SG&A cost declined, it's not that bright. But if you look quarter over quarter, it's a little bit lower in terms of percentage of gross sales. And I think this is something GameStop's going to continue to focus on because we had that commentary up here. We had the commentary in the earnings call and just the overall commentary of GameStop focusing on profitability and their cost cutting. So it would make sense that this is where it's going to happen with Ryan Cohen and CEO Matt Furlong talking about this. So yeah, they even said recent weeks significant changes have been made to continue to reduce SG&A expenses. One example is the most recent set of layoffs. Then they got their business priorities here. So business priority number one, short-term profitability. Long-term, pragmatic growth. So I looked up the word pragmatic, and I just thought it was interesting that the definition on Google is dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is practical rather than theoretical considerations. So I thought that kind of just had to do with the overall idea of we're not going to answer questions, just watch us work. Ryan Cohen's mentality of I like to work, let my work speak for myself. So sensible, realistic, those are like words that kind of describe, it seems like, how GameStop is operating culturally. Of course, I can't know that without actually working there, but I think that has to do with their culture of just, okay, we operate realistically and consistently. We're not going to create like all these promises to shareholders and whoever else, but overall, we're just going to operate efficiently, sensibly, realistically, and just be practical. How are things looking over there, producer? All right. So some more earnings call commentary I'll jump into here. They're very judicious in to respect how we allocate capital to the core business. Totally butchered that. So I looked up the word judicious. That means having showing or done with judgment or sense. So basically what they're saying is we're not just going to go spend company capital on something random. We're not just going to go make random acquisitions and just spend just because there's opportunity. We want to be very, very strategic. When we spend capital, we see an amazing deal. We see a great deal for an acquisition. And hearing them talk about an acquisition is pretty exciting. They said they want a strategic asset or complementary asset. If it becomes available at the right price range, I think that would be very interesting. In a tough economic time, valuations of companies are going to come down, whether it's public or private. And depending what it is, it might make sense for GameStop to go ahead and acquire it. Seeing something like that might be really exciting, might be really bullish for them. But of course, no matter what happens, if there is an acquisition, for sure the mainstream media is going to spin it as bad one way or another. So that'll be interesting to see, or how that goes down. If that goes down, I'm going to definitely keep an eye on that. But honestly, I don't know. I feel like some people were saying like, oh well, GameStop under promises and over delivers, so maybe they already have an acquisition lined up. But honestly, I feel like probably not. But I could be wrong. I have no evidence to think that they don't, but I have no evidence to think that they do. So for the time being, we'll just kind of keep an eye on it. But when you look at their sales, we have 1.186 billion versus 1.297 billion for the same quarter a year ago. So sales are down year over year, but many retail companies, kind of the same thing there. So I really think it's about how they weather the storm right now. So definitely not like super profitability in this quarter, but I think profitability next year, towards the second half of the year, it looks very good. I think even next quarter will probably be profitable just because it's the holiday season. But I see beginning of next year, overall economic struggles still. So the company might not be turning a profit, but I think they'll continue their cost cutting efforts and just go from there. And then second half of 2023, maybe this same quarter of next year, they can be profitable. And then Q4 could be immensely profitable, and they can turn a full year profit in 2023, and then continue profitability going to 2024 and beyond. So ultimately, I really feel like, we know, or I personally believe, of course, not financial advice anyway, that the stock is heavily shorted and continues to be shorted evidently to me. So I just keep buying shares. Other individuals out there keep buying shares. They keep directly registering them in their name, withdrawing them from the DTC. So as long as the company is literally profitable and not just burning through money endlessly, and right now, if they can manage things, I feel like they'll always be able to manage things. And the passion's there behind the brand, and you have the whole Web3 they're getting into. There's just so much here. Like on the surface, it really doesn't seem like it to the public probably, but to me, like I just see so much here going on. But I'm gonna go ahead and keep going here. So we just have the overall sales of GameStop, and collectibles, as you've seen on the screen here, is the strongest category, and that is clearly a goal of theirs. They've talked about it, where it's their most profitable sales category. So for this reason, it makes sense for them to focus on growing this category. Of course, you don't want to see hardwares and accessories and software going down, but it is a reality right now. I hope they can bring that back moving forwards into Q4 year over year. It'd be nice to see improvements. But again, it will be tough considering economic times right now as a whole. But going into next year, I want to see these categories come back. And I think it'd be really exciting to soon see Web3 as its own category, or something along those lines, like digital sales, I don't know, something like that as its own category. I think that'd be kind of cool to see eventually. But obviously right now that doesn't make sense. But overall, revenue is falling. That is a reality, but I'm interested in what the company's doing in the long term. So that doesn't really phase me in the short term, just because, again, I know lots of individuals are registering shares. I believe in what the company's trying to do as a whole in the long term. I trust the management team. They're obviously focusing on profitability and not just blowing money on stupid stuff. So I just feel good about my position. I think it's a good earnings call if you dig deep into it. The fact that there's strong free cash flow, right? They're strong cash on hand. Now they have money in marketable securities. I'll get into that a little later, which is basically just government bonds and stuff like that, where they can get a little bit of interest on their money while they're just waiting to do something with it. JPP says he thinks he will acquire a business. I think they're still shopping. I agree. They probably are still shopping. That's what I'm thinking. Xbit, thank you for being here. Appreciate you, man. I'm John Lacey. Let's go Web3. Yes, sir. Web3, we out here. But yeah, definitely, guys, gotta be so honest. Like, live stream is so much different than a video. Like, I just thought it'd be like, oh yeah, like I'll just keep recording. But like, I didn't think about the different takes, and like honestly, I feel like I generally do better just talking without stuff on the screen, so it's kind of hard to be like this and that and this and that, you know. But keep going here. All right, so I'm gonna go through the numbers. So they obviously had a total net loss per share and net loss on the bottom line. But quarter three saw a slight year over year improvement in terms of net loss and a little bit less on net loss earnings per share as well. But what I'm really looking for is a strong quarter four so that they can make year over year net loss just about even or hopefully a little bit worse, or sorry, a little bit less worse than the previous year. Not that it was terrible. Of course, again, companies focusing on profitability, so it's not good to see negative numbers right here, right now. But again, I'm looking more of positive numbers for these numbers in the second half of 2023. So first two quarters of 2022 had steep losses. Management was still aggressively spending on the turnaround at that point in time. So they're not going to be spending as heavily on the turnaround now. They've kind of passed the figure out phase, more so now let's operate phase. If we take in a strong quarter four earnings, yep, kind of said that there. It likely would take much stronger than expected for a total year over year improvement to happen. However, 2023 looks very well set up for net profitability for GameStop as they continue to engage in cost cutting activities, making overall more economic decisions with profitability in mind. So that's kind of what I was saying before about second half of 2023 being hopefully more net profitable than the first half of 2023, even if first half is negative. So it can be overall slightly net profitable. Then 2024, hopefully both strong profits, and then go from there. Then I just have the balance sheet visualized here. So you've seen how they've maintained their cash position over time. And then if you look right here, can I zoom in? Nope. But 238 million, that's the marketable securities. So these marketable securities are just government bonds or something similar. Basically, all it is just cash that's earning interest. They could easily access it. It's fairly liquid. So it's just a place to park their money right now. Kind of visualize the balance sheet here. A couple other points. Again, strong cash position. High quantity of inventory for the holiday season ahead. Discounting old, they mentioned on the call, they're discounting old inventory for categories that they have soft customer demand in for multiple quarters. So you know what, they're like, these things have been sitting here. Doesn't seem like demand's here for these items anymore, so we're going to start discounting. I've seen it in the stores a little bit, and sometimes when people return clothes, I've been fortunate enough to actually like buy a sweatshirt that was discounted. I think I actually have it like literally right here. Like this is actually so nice. Like you got the rockets on the inside. So I guess when people return clothes, oh, when people return clothes, they must just like put them out there, or I guess if they're a little worn, or I don't know. I mean, this sweatshirt seemed good to me, and I was able to get it half off. Oh, I had a work event with this one. Forgot about this. Damn, this does not want to come off. GameStop. We got it on the strings too, which I think is pretty fresh. Rockets on the inside, the logo on the side. It's a nice zip up, super warm. Would recommend. But anyway, they discount inventory sometimes. So they also talked about on the call anticipating that capital expenditures will remain similar or at reduced levels now that the company has completed its quote period of heavy investment. That's kind of what I was talking about before, passing the figure it out phase, now more so the let's take action phase, let's operate phase. So in quarter three of 2022, cash flow provided by operations was actually positive net versus negative the previous year in the same quarter. So GameStop will look to maintain this free cash flow positive from operations coming in the quarters to meet their goal of achieving short-term profitability. Again, it's tough to read off screen, guys. I do so much better like off the dome, so kind of, just working through things here. Thanks for being here. But definitely read the things on the screen. I feel like I should kind of summarize them better. But this is kind of what I was talking about with the U.S. government securities. So you can see right here, it's highlighted, recognized in cash and cash equivalents and marketable securities in our consolidated balance sheets. So then I kind of have this conclusion here. All in all, the company is continuing to move in the right direction. I personally believe the company is now completing the beginning stages of the turnaround plan Furthermore, I expect the company to be profitable in the second half of 2023 and maintain strong profitability through 2024. I also expect the company to continue to expand its presence through new business segments and or acquisitions. Again, this report included information from GameStop's quarter 3 2022 earnings report, but also included some of my own conclusions and opinions. Always do your own due diligence. I do not provide financial advice. Thank you for taking time to read my summary and analysis of GameStop. And thank you guys for taking time to be here. I mean, I'll stay for a little longer. If anyone just has any general questions or anything. Eric, appreciate you for being here. Movie Bear says, I'm on the same time as Lightning Warrior. I know, guys. Alright, I promise I will not be on the same time as Lightning Warrior next time. Definitely not a smart move, and definitely took away from my viewership. But honestly, I was kind of nervous to do this, guys. I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, and it's just been nerve-wracking because obviously, like, I'm not doing the same here as I'm doing in my videos, I feel like. But I'll get better at it. I promise. I'll keep practicing. So I'm kind of glad that there's not a lot of people here, but I'm also not glad to be like taken away from Lightning in any way. He's awesome. Lightning's awesome. Morantz is awesome. Richard Newton's awesome. I love watching all those guys and just hearing what they have to say because they're all intelligent dudes in themselves. Let's check more of the comments. Next bit, let's go family. Livestream for real, yes sir. Maybe I'll bring a beer next time. Eric, thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. Danso, cash flow positive. Looking for a good setup quarter 4 after holidays. I think it'll be strong, honestly. I think they'll bring in more cash. No reason to think they wouldn't. Dude, I'll come live more. I honestly just have to practice. I feel like talking like this is easier, but like, I don't know. There's just something like when I see myself on the screen, I'm like, oh, okay, like I can see what I'm doing. But like, I'm just literally on a laptop. I need like a monitor so I could be like, oh, okay, like things are operating like smooth. Like I just have like my producer over here, my brother. Shout out to him. Shout out to you, Zach. Appreciate you. It's just basically keeping an eye to make sure like nothing falls apart on the stream. I'm John Lacey says, I just filmed some of my first videos today too. As long as you're telling the truth, you'll be good, my man Tetron. Appreciate you. I'm John Lacey, and that's facts. Not spitting any fibs out here, that's for sure. But yeah, definitely crazy live streaming. But I'm really excited to see like the full year report too, and do wonder if there'll be any outlook for 2023. I feel like probably not with how the company's done things. And let's see, here's the exact information on the debt. So, you know, when GameStop always says we have very minimal debt associated with the French government, it's this literal 1% interest here. Interest rate is 0.7% for 3 of the term loans totaling 20 million euros, and 1% for the remaining 3 term loans of another 20 million euros. So literally below 1% interest on their debt. That's crazy because I'm sure on their marketable securities, wherever they were listed, yes, they're probably earning like 3% on these. So their cash that's parked is probably literally earning more than that very, very tiny fraction of debt they have, even though that debt is so small. It's like kind of irrelevant. But it's just kind of funny to think their cash is basically earning them more. Josie says, love this content, but you really around the same time as the Devils. That's true. I have, crossing with Lightning Warrior, crossing with my favorite hockey team, the Devils. I hope they're winning right now. I was watching a little before in the very beginning. They were winning 2-1. Then Xbit says, live is so much better than videos. You can connect. That's true. That's true. I just feel like I got to know what I'm doing more, and then live could be great. Especially when I get this second monitor going. Like, I really just need a solid setup. Like, I'm just kind of like on the go a lot now and just like doing so many different things. But I feel like now's a good time to share, like, this is so random, but like my Marshall stories. So I don't know if I've said this really, but I'm actually formally not formally, I used to be a Marshalls manager basically when I was in college. So I just finished up college last year. So again, when you're listening to me, by the way, like, I'm just a dude that came out of college. So appreciate you listening to me. I'm not saying like think I'm an idiot, but I am saying like always do your own due diligence. At the end of the day, I'm a young individual and I'm just giving you my perspective on things. But what I'm trying to say here is I worked in Marshalls, so I saw like a lot of stuff in the world, and that gave me like a lot of just general like understanding of retail and just overall. Oh, I could do this now that we're just talking, man. So just overall, like seeing crazy stuff out there, right? And one time there was this guy in the store. He was like looking mad shady, and he's just walking around, and he's walking towards the back, and I'm kind of like, all right, I don't know. Like sometimes people be sneaking out the back, but like there's an emergency exit. I'm like, I'm not about to run through there and chase him or anything like that. But I'm like, I'm supposed to be like, hey, how are you? Oh, do you need any help? Or like, oh, nice shirt in your cart. That's how you're supposed to like prevent shoplifting. It's be like, oh, that's a really nice shirt. You're supposed to like talk to them about their merchandise to like make them nervous and try not to do it. So I go over like, just like, oh yeah, or something like I just, oh, how's it going? Like, nice, whatever. I don't know. I just think super simple. I was like, whatever. I didn't even care that much. So I was like, okay. But then I'm like, I don't want people to steal from my store. Like, there's something like when you work there, you don't want people to steal. Like, it's just not right, of course. Like, that's number one. And number two, when you're working there and you're working hard, like, keep everything, you're like, I'm not trying to put myself in harm's way, but I also don't want this person to be doing this, you know? So he's kind of starts walking up, like, towards the front. And then I'm like, I kind of know it's going to happen. And then some girl at the front is like, wait, are you going to pay for that? And then he just books it through the door. But he books it through so fast that he literally ran through the door. So the whole like thing like came off the side. And then this man was running through like the parking lot like he was in Fortnite with a shopping cart. Like I could never forget that. He was just running like full speed. He had like a getaway car at the other end, like the quick check parking lot. And was just like skirt and like it's just crazy people steal like that. That is sorry, that has nothing to do with GameStop, but I just thought of that story. And let me know if you guys want me to tell more retail stories right now because I have so many good stories of crazy people when I worked in retail. And I'll try and connect it to GameStop. Let's check out the chat. Xbit, I see you're well planted in GME community. Hey, Danzo and Xbit out here connecting. I live and breathe and love GameStop sexually. Nice. And JPP says, especially in higher interest markets, lower interest debt is great. That's true. How will GameStop overcome the negative connotation of NFTs? I'm just saying, if you look outside the super strong community, places like r/gaming and Twitter loathe NFTs. Just curious what GMB plan will be. Okay, that's actually a great question. I'm very glad you asked that. Thank you. So honestly, I feel like NFTs, it's a lot about the name, right? Like people get caught up in the name and just think like, oh, those stupid pictures of monkeys, those stupid JPEGs, right? Whereas I just think like that's so not actually what it is, and people just don't realize that yet. So like, I feel like they could be one day referenced as something else. Like it still will technically be an NFT, the same thing, but I feel like it'll be more commonly known as something else, and it just has a lot to do with what they'll actually do for GameStop. So if GameStop isn't using NFTs or selling NFTs that have any kind of utility or relation to games, people are definitely going to have that connotation. Whereas when they start to do that more, and now that Immutable X is live and bringing on more games, and Immutable X actually has like a grant program to incentivize games to hop on this. So I think that's going to give it more legitimacy when people are like, oh, okay, like people are actively like using this. Like people, this is like not just pictures and just monkeys. This is like he bought that in this game and then he sold it to buy this other item in this other game. Okay, then Windfall says, what are the biggest games coming to GameStop's NFT marketplace? So we have the chest that's out right now. Gods Unchained is out. We have WAGMI Tower Defense is coming out. Those are just first few I can think off my head. There's another one out there called like Undead Blocks I wanted to try. It seems like some zombie like Web3 game. But there's definitely going to be more coming because Mutable, again, is using that like grant program to incentivize more games to try Web3. The Xbit says negative connotation on NFTs. It was crypto, right? Not NFTs. Well, I feel like some NFTs, like, you know, like to the average person out there, you just think like, oh, an NFT, like, people like create scams with those because, you know, just you see like so much of the spam about them. Like, that's what I kind of mean about them. Like, and I feel like the negative connotation of crypto is definitely there right now too because of FTX. People just think, oh, it was all like because crypto is sus, Of course, FTX blew up. It's like, no, Sam Bankman-Fried is a little fraud. Like this man is finally going to be put behind bars. Maybe. I mean, they finally took him just today, like literally just tonight, like 30 minutes ago or something. It was announced that they arrested him. And literally, apparently, this dude was playing League of Legends. And apparently, during the unusual whales thing today, he was also playing League of Legends. It's like, bro, are you serious? Like, hop off the game for 5 seconds. JPP says yes, definitely all agree, all about the utility. Movier says both. It's both really. Salvador Blanco says, what will the merger be? Also, any info on GME's Performance Center? If not exactly sure what you mean by GME Performance Center, but in terms of the merger, I don't think there'll be any merger. Like if you're referencing the Bed Bath, honestly, I don't really see that. Maybe something with Bye Bye Baby, but I feel like they're gonna make some kind of acquisition that would have to do with either Web3 or potentially esports. Low key, I've been thinking that GameStop is going to make a move in the esports space. I really feel like it would make sense with everything they're doing, moving towards, like a hybrid of like the classic retail stores and e-commerce to like more online digital stuff. I feel like if they had their own team, like esports team or something like that, or like I don't know, like I feel like they definitely could have presence in that. That's like a huge growing worldwide thing and just a great way to get GameStop's name out there even more. Then Windfall says, I wonder what his rank is. Hardstuck Silver. Yeah, no, oh my god, I'm so trash at League of Legends. Low key, maybe I should play one day. I don't know if any like. Let me know if you guys would want to play. I would play like League of Legends with some of you, but like I'm really bad. So like if you don't, I hope you don't want to play competitively. But Windfall has played with me for a long time, and yeah, he probably is like Hardstuck Silver. I could see that. SBF is a clown, bro. This man is literally like the worst human ever. Potentially, arguably. I mean, like this man, he's just crazy. Like he just scammed people. Like, and he knew it. And he just said like, "I'm trying to save the world, man." And then it's like that one video cracks me up so much where he's like, this billionaire is not normal. He's not like every other billionaire. I can't even say it seriously. It's so stupid. This billionaire is unlike normal billionaires. He wants to make as much as possible to give away as much as possible. It's like, bro, come on, come on. Like SBF was the biggest scam artist ever. Like he's the biggest clown. And the fact he was trying to write like crypto legislation, man, like it's crazy. And it just makes you wonder, like, not to get too tinfoily hat, but like why was he on Capitol Hill? And why do his parents have so many connections? Why did FTX just blow up and become the biggest exchange? Like, I feel like it was the most widely known by the average person. They literally bought a stadium. The MLB had it on their freaking like umpires' uniforms, like just literally like a couple months ago. Like, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how the whole thing's played out. Do you think they would merge with Activision Blizzard now that Microsoft is potentially getting blocked from the purchase? That would be pretty crazy, but I think it wouldn't really. It would be like too big. I don't think they would really want to merge. I think GameStop wants to acquire. Just also, I don't really know how that would affect the shares, but I feel like that wouldn't exactly play out that way. But maybe they could get their skin in the game somehow with that. But it is an interesting like thought. That's for sure. Windfall says, did you see the video of CoffeeZilla exposing him for cross-mingling funds between non-margin and margin accounts? I saw like clips, or like I haven't actually watched the actual thing. I've been meaning to, but like I feel like maybe that's why he got arrested. And he's doing this like crazy press tour. He fired his original lawyer. It's like, dude, what are you doing, bro? Like, it's a clown. Xbox says, didn't they already buy Blizzard? They got blocked. CoffeeZilla. Last I heard, yeah. No, I don't know exactly, honestly, what's happening in the whole Activision thing. I haven't been following that much, but I'll definitely look into it a little bit because it's the gaming industry, so of course it like pertains to GameStop a bit. And then yeah, CoffeeZilla is a pretty cool dude. I have to watch him more. He's popped up on my feed a lot, but for some reason I've just never really watched him too much. I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna tell. I wish I had something else to put on the screen. I should have thought of this ahead of time. But for like telling my Marshall stories, like the place is crazy. That's what I should do one time. I should have old coworkers of mine or like old people I worked with to come on here and we'll do like a mini podcast and tell like our best times at Marshalls. Because like working with retail, one thing I'll say is you definitely be bonding with people because you work with the same people so closely. It sounds corny too, but it's kind of like your family at the end of it because it's like you're just so like they get to deal with like all this like garbage, like it's crazy, and then you're like working so many hours sometimes. I remember weeks working like literally 50 plus hours. It's crazy. And then eventually I was just like, I can't do this, and I quit. And then I went to school and finished up. I was going to school, but I was going a little slower. And I was like, screw this, I'm done. Finished school, finished college. Now I'm working at a job, working here on YouTube, and just chilling. Yeah, I really got to get the monitor. I'm really mad. It's like I could have did things so much better, guys. But thank you for being here, those of you that are. JPP says, I hope you plan on doing more live streams. I love the interaction. Yes, I do. And I'm going to have a much better setup. This is definitely like something I'll look back on and be like, wow, I can't believe I did this live stream this way. But I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys, because honestly, I didn't have that much to say. Again, I just kind of wanted to set things up, do a trial run. I hope this wasn't the worst stream in the world. Thank you so much for being here. Definitely, I'm going to make these better. I'm going to have more flow, more of a plan. I'm going to get a monitor going on the side so I can see what the hell's going on instead of just like bouncing back and forth to opening like my OBS with the chat. But really, thank you guys so much. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate you guys. And I've just been busy and just trying to get my own life together. And I was on vacation. Then I was a little sick. And then just trying to get myself together, with just other things going on with work and just life and everything else. So really trying to get consistent with YouTube. Going to do these live streams. Going to be putting out these videos. Just going to keep moving forwards. But thank you guys so, so much. None of this happens without you guys watching. I really appreciate you. Have a good night.